What is going on, folks? I am Goat, and welcome back to Warframe. Yeah, esque. The title is going to suggest something a little less Warframey as far as, like, gameplay, and more of what the fuck we're dealing with here, right? Don't care about my unread message. It's fucking Baro Katir, right? I'm going to go over 3 levels of what is Warframe, right? What the fuck is Warframe? What does it do? And forgive me if I'm slurring words or sounding weird. I am really fucked up today. Like, physically. So, it is what it is. What is Warframe? Warframe is an action, adventure, sci-fi, looter shooter, MMO, for those who don't know, massive multiplayer online game, PvE, player versus environment game. There is a minor amount of PvP, but it's honestly not good. That's one place where Destiny outshines something like in the likes of Warframe. Not to say that it's unplayable, but finding matches that aren't bugged does make it a little bit of a problem. But it's a free to play. That's a big starter. Free to play. Free to play. You know, action, adventure, sci-fi, survival, defense style game. You know, looter shooter, grindy, MMO, PvE, the whole shebang, right? It's just kind of this whole package. From a new player perspective, you start into this game in a really odd position. Like most games, it's a storytelling game. It's got a lore to it. This game in particular has a very deep lore if you're willing to look at it so much. But you get a choice of starting out with one of 3 characters, and you have no idea what the fuck is the right choice. It gives you an extremely base description, and it tells you that basically this guy is the most player-friendly guy out there. No, this is not his base colors, but this is Excalibur, right? The easiest to use, most new player-friendly Warframe to start with. Now, part of the reason is he's got a nice little damage reduction to him, not much. Another reason is his abilities are extremely easy to use and easy to understand, and there's nothing convoluted about him, and my slug is stuck at my feet. And he's just overall not squishy. The other 2 frames are Mag and Volt. Used to be, I think, Loki and Mag, if I remember correctly. But see, present game, right? New player. So what is it from the new player? Smooth, clean, questionable. Not in a negative way, not in a negative connotation at all. But questionable leaves you questioning, where the fuck am I? You start at this game with a guy who's got some weird robo-leg and what looks like a mix between a Borg and a fucking blown-out vagina named Vor that's trying to kidnap you. That's how you start in this game. And you fight these weird characters called Grenier, who honestly look like, you know, mentally retarded Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with guns. No offense, but they just look like big Mongo turtles with guns. Everything's confusing. But then you get into the clean aspect, the graphics of the game, very clean. The fluidity of the motion of the game, you know, the mechanics of the game, everything's very smooth, very clean. You go through the entire base tutorial, basically the entire first quest, Vor's Prize, and you start to learn how clean everything is. But that's where the new player experience changes, as far as the stance of it. You get left very wide open as, well, what now? It's the big question, right? Well, what now? So then it becomes confusing, convoluted. You know? Don't really know what these things do. I get these things called mods. I have no idea what these things do. I obviously have other planets that I can travel to, but I don't know how to get there, so I guess I just do the next mission until I find a way. And it seems like every time I do a mission, I start a mission and random people join me. And then they blow everything up and I have no idea what just happened, but the mission's over and I guess I succeeded in doing something. Convoluted. Confusing. You know, you go to Cetus. You meet a guy named Kanzu. Talks about eating his lunch all the time. And, sends you out on the plains of Eidolon to go do go do a quick bounty for me. Show me what you're made of, and so you go do the thing, and it feels like fun. And then you make the almost inexorable mistake of stepping out on the plains of Eidolon at night, and now these floating beheaded these floating little bodiless heads are shooting at you and killing you, damn near one-shotting your ass. And you're basically playing the game of run like a bitch. So again, confusing, convoluted. You have no idea what these fucking things are, how to kill them. They'll get me the fuck out of here kind of mentality, right? It's okay. Every time anybody jumps in a new game, you automatically stand back and you're like, oh my fucking god, what the hell did I get into? I haven't found a video game yet where there isn't something confusing, something leaving you asking questions. The problem is that it's the base function of the game in the case of Warframe that does kind of leave you questioning, like, well, what am I supposed to do now? How does this work? Because the junctions only tell you so much. Well, you need to apply 4 mods to a Warframe. You need to upgrade one mod so many times, blah blah blah, go crack, go break open relics in order to complete this junction. Well, it doesn't tell you why you're doing it. It just tells you that they're there. It tells you that mods exist and that you can upgrade them, but it doesn't tell you, which mods are good, which mods are bad. There's no tutorial basics of taking your Warframe and saying, okay, I want to make him better so I don't die as much. Again, I don't want to make this a negative thing because it's not meant to be, but this is just that new player experience, right? So you just don't know what the fuck is going on. So you just kind of meander throughout the star chart. You get mid-level players. These are post the War Within. Okay? Post the War Within. We're getting a better understanding of the game. Not great, but a better understanding of the game. And now we have to grind out. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go as far as post the Maker, pre-New War. You get to gripe. Confusion is lessened. The loss in sensibilities or the loss in sense of what the fuck you're supposed to be doing, it's a lot less unclear now. You kind of have a path, you know what you're supposed to be doing, you're kind of understanding how the junctions work and how farming certain warframes works, and just the general mechanics of the game have become a little bit cleaner. And now you have the prerequisites of a quest that is basically going to lock you out from being able to complete the star chart. So you have to do this quest in order to finish the star chart in the the quest that follows this big ass quest. So then you have to go farm something that I find to be highly unnecessary to have to farm to do the quest. And it's not the Railjack, it's the Necromech. I think the Necromech situation in the New War could have been handled much differently, but we'll get to that stance in itself. So then you got to go farm something else, another kind of Warframe. So you're back into the swing of some long, hard grind, and that's the thing, is that up to the Maker, you're starting to realize the grind of this game. And to me, personally, I love the grind of this game. It can be annoying, it can be frustrating. It's down to, the running joke for any more seasoned players is RNGesus is not your friend. But this is the most RNG game I have ever played. Random number generated drops for anybody, who doesn't understand what RNG is. But like, RNGesus is not your friend sometimes in this game because of drop tables. But that's even up to the Maker. A lot of people don't really understand the drop table so much. I've come across this so much. People don't necessarily understand the capabilities of their Warframes still. They've got a fair idea because they're watching tutorials from people in videos. And see, that's where I kind of find fault. It's not the player's fault. Like, I've shown tutorial stuff with frames too, so I'm at fault just as much as anybody else. But by the time you're up to the Maker, you're starting to understand that everything is very customizable to your playstyle within reason. Like, some frames just don't like to go ham and go jump into fucking, crowds because they're going to die. So you have to find the right kind of frame to fit your playstyle, and then you build them accordingly to exactly what you want them to do within reason of the game, within the mechanics of the game. It's going to come up later. Mechanics of the game, within the mechanics of the game, within the design of the game, we'll say it that way. So you see a lot of online presence. You see a lot of people, oh man, this is the best way to build it. But then you get confliction, conflicting information. Big problem with Warframe. The Wikipedia tells you one thing. Overframe tells you another thing, which, for the love of God, avoid overframe.gg with all fucking with all of my hopes. Please avoid that fucking page. It's at best a base blueprint of what might be a good idea, okay? But everything in Overframe is conflicting with itself because it's all down to basic player experience. Well, I find this works great for me. Well, if you're an ability-based Warframe player and you don't like weapons so much, your builds are going to be very different from what weapon-based players are that are worried more about just general survivability. Like, unless I need an ability to save my life or to keep enemies from killing me quicker, I don't give a fuck about abilities kind of mentality. And then you've got the guys who are like, I shall nuke this map with my finger. You know, I mean, so that's kind of where it's at, right? So that's the problem with all of the conflicting information going up into the maker. Even necromechs are conflicting, even though it's very hard to be conflicting with something that's so limited. And it's limited by design, by the way. I'm not knocking necromechs. I actually enjoy necromechs, but they are limited by design because they're basically ancient fucking robo frames. You know, but at this point, you still really don't know what you're, you know, for the most part, unless you're really, really digging into a lot of content creators. You don't really know what your best companions are. You don't know what the really, you know, what the best kinds of frames are, so on and so forth. And again, like, I can give you an example of two guys who I'm pretty sure either don't like each other or just don't like each other's playstyle either way. And this is just making an assumption, totally blind assumption here. But like a couple of older school players, and I don't know how long Nightmare Frame has been playing. I really don't. So I don't want to speak on his tenure in the game, but he's obviously, he knows what the fuck he's talking about with the game because he's one of those mega ability killers, right? He's one of those guys, he knows how to make weapons, really does, but he's all about using the abilities of the frame to nuke the shit out of the map and using his weapons as mop-up. Which is perfect. For him, it works, because this fucker level caps missions all the time, he's OP as hell, but if it's not your playstyle, his builds aren't going to matter, right? But he knows what he's talking about. And then you take the polar opposite side of somebody who knows how to build a frame for survivability per se, but is more focused into how weapons function as well in the mix of using said abilities. So he's kind of like that middle level guy, and that's Brosheim. Now, do I think either guy's right or wrong? No, but they're very conflicted in their builds. One guy is super heavy ability, super heavy OP survivability, and I'm just going to kill everything by snapping my finger like Thanos. And then you've got other guys like Brosheim that are like, okay, look, I'm going to show you how to build everything evenly across the board to where you stay alive. Just a general, you know, I think his general thing is don't die. It is just not die. You know, so you go into a mission and your whole goal is to not die. I think it's something along the lines of what he says. But they show you their weapon builds, which weapon builds aren't so subjective. I will say that. Weapon builds, it's a little hard to get conflicting information with something that does a specific thing, right? But even then, damage types, you know, with the weapons, that can be conflicting at times. But the general base function of what a weapon does is pretty much the same for a lot of people. I'm like one of the weirdos with melee weapons. I do builds that are a little bit different from most because they fit me. But yeah, so you got, you know, like heavy ability with weapon mop-up, and then you've got kind of even keel, you know, and then you've got like heavy weapon guys. So guys like, truthfully, the Kengineer, good example. The Kengineer is all about breaking down the statistics of a frame and the statistics of weapons, but he's actually a pretty heavy weapon play guy. He does use abilities, but he uses them for more survivability purposes. Not map wiping, not anything of the sort. He uses, you know, weapons. He likes the statistical breakdown of what a weapon can do and how much damage it can do and so on and so forth. And then he uses his Warframe more on a survivability standpoint. You know, and, you know, some map cleanup, but yeah, so I mean, that's like the three conflicting sides of things as a mid-level player. As a low-level player, if you get into it, you're going to look at it and go, what the fuck are these guys talking about? But up to the new war, you know, mid-level player at best. Now, granted, you can get to the new war by, I think, Mastery 7? So, Mastery 7 or Mastery 8, I think? I mean, there may have been... I don't know if there's... I don't remember if there's a Mastery cap to it. But like when the new war first released, you had to have the Paracesis built, which meant, you know, you had to... you know, go through and be Mastery 10 just to build the Paracesis. They quickly removed that because of community gripes. That's another thing that we'll get into a little bit later. Community gripes. Hold on. So, yeah, so the whole community gripe thing. We'll get to that later. So, conflicting information. right? You finally get your grind done. You get the new war done. Then you go to the Angels of Zariman. And then you get to Veilbreaker, and that's where we are today as a mid-level player. So, that's where it's at. What's the feeling, though, right? What's that feeling? Still a little confused, conflicted with information, because now that you know things exist, should I plat buy? Should I grind? Yeah, it's just conflicted. I think is probably the best singular word. Conflicted. Then you get tenured players. Now, I'm going to put myself between mid-level and tenured. Yes, I'm technically mastery capped, minus the fact that I have to get the 3 weapons from the weekly calls garrison missions, which I have 1 build. I just haven't mastered it yet because it's whatever. It's 3 weapons. We're talking, you know, what, 9k XP? It's nothing I can't handle. So, I mean, I'm technically mastery capped minus those 3 weapons from the calls garrison chipper store pickups. And herein comes the part where you get salty players, right? Not all, just some salty players. Salty players, my god. There's times, you know, and I'm not saying these people are bad people. They're not. I'm really not saying they're bad people at all. But like old school players, like, you know, Brosheim, old school player. Another one, Mugamu. He was an early, just flourishing content creator, and it's like every time I see a Mugamu video pop up, it's mostly negative. And it's no knock on Mugamu. It's really not. I'm not kicking him in the balls. I'm not, you know, blasting him for any way, because when I hear what he says, I understand what he's saying. It's just from a perspective of somebody who's, you know, a pretty early stage player of the game, who's looking at it from that perspective. You know, and he's saying, what he's saying isn't necessarily untrue to a point, but it's also just his personal touch to his feeling of the game. And that's, again, the personal touch in this game in general, is you either love it or you hate it. That's the truth. You either love this game or you hate this game. Because you go from frames like your starter frame like Excalibur, right? So I'll just go back to my normal appearance with him now. Way better, right? Other than my original Captain Baby shit look. And then you get into like OP killer frames like Mesa. Like, just absolutely, I'm going to annihilate fucking anything, you know, that is my enemy. It doesn't even have to have a heartbeat. I'm just going to annihilate it. You know, Mesa, like, holy shit, Mesa, man, look at her. And you got things up there. Railjack. Railjack in itself was a massive point of hatred. Okay, a huge point of hatred. Because the Imperium update hit. And I believe it was in early 2020. Late 2019, early 2020 is when Imperium hit. And Railjack 2.0 dropped in mid-2020, if I remember right. And then Railjack 3.0 didn't drop until fucking Call of Tempestari. So we were all just stuck with this perpetual cycle of what the fuck am I dealing with right now in regards to Railjack. It was terrible. Now, there's a few out there that loved Railjack 1.0, 2.0, so on. My phone is going bonkers. There's a lot of people that loved it. But Railjack in itself is one of those things that I personally find that DE, the game creator, Digital Extremes, just crams down players' throats. And I don't think that's the way to go about games. I don't think that the buffs and the nerfs that they do, I don't think there's a lot of thought into some of the things that they do in this game. So you're going to come across some salty posts. I've had a couple myself. Where you draw the line is, how much stock do you put in salty posts? How much stock do you put in salty Reddit posts? You know, I mean, seriously, how much stock can you put in what people are saying about the game? If you love it, you love it. So do you follow the leader and stick with it and say, oh my god, this game's a piece of shit? What the fuck is going on here, man? Jesus Christ. What is that goddamn noise? I think it's my mower. Anyway. So I mean, do you put in stock and say, oh my god, so these people say this game is terrible, they've been playing this game a long time, they seem to be knowledgeable, apparently this game sucks. Or do you stick with your gut and you say, this is worth my time because I'm having fun doing it? Therein lies the rub. I'll say this. There's no right answer. You know, what is Warframe? Warframe is what you make of it. As much as I love to say that I love this game, does this game piss me off at times? Yes, of course it does. What game doesn't? This game is a free-to-play game. Where do I get to gripe? Truthfully, where do I get to gripe? If you don't like the fucking game, uninstall it. You know? I might get irritated with the way a game goes, because I think it's stupid. As to what they've done. But I still love the game. I still love the mechanics of the game. I love the general function behind how this game is designed and what this game does for me personally. I love the fact that you can constantly tinker and change things, both with weapons and frames, and companions, and your railjack, and so on. Everything is moddable and adjustable in some fashion. A thing you have to go into an understanding, though, is that this is not a short-run game from a player who knows nothing about this game. Just because my new account shows me just beelining through this game, it's because I know what I'm doing. It's because I've already done it, right? Sometimes with a few of these things twice over. This is my third run through things. So yeah, I understand the mechanics of the game. I understand the objectives. I understand where to farm things. You know, so it's not like me flexing on people saying, oh, you can just do this if you put your mind to it. I understand there's a learning curve. I really do. I'm just showing the proof that it's possible. You know, it's possible if you just focus on what you gotta focus on. You can do things quicker than what it seems like you can. I've seen some people, oh, it takes, 25 or 30 mission hours to farm a necromech. I did it in 2.5 hours. That's not a matter of knowing what the fuck I was doing. I went in with Mag, the Cedo, the Akimbo, or no, it was either the Akimbo Furious or the Atomos at the time. I want to say it was the Atomos, and the Serrata, okay? Which are not OP going into the ISO vaults. And I got lucky. Had nothing to do with knowledge. I got lucky. I got lucky because I got with a group of guys who were farming matrices for Lloyd for standing. And so they helped me farm all 3 of the ISO vaults. And I got a few mods, not many. I got standing with Lloyd. And then all I had to do was go out on the Deimos and farm a few extra things here and there to finish building the necromech. Sometimes it's down to just pure luck. Can it be 30 hours to farm a necromech? I guess it's possible, but I don't see it. I mean, if you're trying to solo it, sure, it could be a goddamn slog if you don't have the right weapons, because trying to take down a necromech with just a warframe is a pain in the dick. It's completely doable, but it's a pain in the ass. But like, the gripey saltiness of the, and general toxicity that you may come across in the game, I would personally just say pay it no, never mind. Don't sit there and let it feed you, because you have to make up your own opinion in this game. That's one thing I can tell you without question. You've got to make up your own opinion about this game, whether you like the level of grind that's in this game, and there is a lot. Like, I hear people talk about the grind of Destiny, and it's sometimes a letdown. This game makes Destiny's grind kind of look like a bitch, like a little redheaded stepchild, because at least there's an objective to your grind. Some of the grind is just you're grinding without even realizing you're grinding. So you end up being like that little freshman at, senior prom, sneaking in, just happy to be there. Just saying. Developer issues, though, right? This present thing, the thing that I just posted a couple of videos about, the Veilbreaker update. I will say this, 2022, like when I started in 2020, I started playing this game 4 days after Operation Scarlet Spear dropped. Obviously, I was not able to participate because I was on Earth, and if I remember correctly, Scarlet Spear was on Cirrus. But Scarlet Spear was basically like a raid style, 2 squad connection, one up in a railjack, one on the ground. doing another objective, everybody trying to work together and not really succeeding so well because of some general gameplay design issues and then some really, really shitty reward issues. Nobody really wanted to do it towards the end. Now people are screaming they want it back, which I'm enticed at this point because just seeing the basics of what it was, it does sound enticing. It sounds frustrating as fuck too. Railjack. Perfect example of where the developers got things horribly wrong until more recently. More recently being last year. About this time last year, if I remember right. But whenever the hell Call of Tempest started released, that's when Railjack was finally fixed to what I consider to be a very, very playable level. No more avionics. All sorts of base bench modding, tactical modding, battle modding, a crew. I mean, just general good things about the game. As far as Railjack. Now, the Corpus missions that came with Call of Tempest Story, and so, you know, the Corpus Proxima missions are kind of shit because they take twice as long to do the higher level content of Saturn, which sounds funny, and then Veil Proxima, half of Veil Proxima. If you do the Grenier missions in Railjack, most of these missions, except for the Anomaly, will take you roughly 5 to 8 minutes. Your standard Corpus mission is going to take you at a minimum 9 to 13 minutes. And depending on which mission it is, it could take you upwards of 19 to 20 minutes, especially if you're doing it solo. So the Corpus Proxima missions are a real pain in the ass. But it's a developmental issue, right? Developer issue. Veilbreaker, Angels of the Zariman, Echoes of War, Echoes of the Zariman, Tennokan. Everything this year has been a clusterfuck. It really has, and it's really pissed a lot of people off because they're trying to do quality of life changes, and they're trying to update certain things and upgrade certain older frames. Not many, but you know, and trying to change their augment mods. And they're causing a lot of problems with what they're doing because, in my personal opinion, like, they're not really testing it. You know, not with any kind of length of time. And that's the thing that I think, like, yeah, you know what, as a gamer, everybody wants everything right now. We're like a bunch of little fucking kids with a lollipop in sight. We want that shit right motherfucking now because we see it. That doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. I get it, man. The Duveri Paradox was announced at the same time the New War was announced during TennoCon of 2019. It's now 2022, and Duveri Paradox is supposed to be releasing at the end of this year. Is that frustrating? Yes. Is it out of sequence of when they were supposed to be releasing it? Yes. Did COVID hit? Yes. Should you cut him some slack? Some. You know, truthfully, some. I really do agree with that. Some. But I also think that they should be held accountable and actually do the one thing that they swear they want done. They want to listen to the community, take that feedback, and roll with it. If you go and you look at the forums of their ammo changes that they did in Veilbreaker, like, hang on. Let's go to warframe.com. Yeah, warframe.com. Thank you. So we'll go to, no, not store, forums. This fucking thing. Ammo change feedback. Warframe.com. How are you guys running out of ammo? Okay, that's a positive one. The realization about why people on here want AoE nerfed. Ammo nerf was already enough. Arcane Merciless primary and secondary loses passive ammo max. Let's talk about recent update mission time, explosive trend, weapons and frame usage, and a real issue. I like the change. Here's why. You know, I mean, this, you know, Zara totally ruined after this update. Yeah, whatever. Tried a few weapons since the change, and I've run out of ammo exactly once. Solo running, one weapon equipped. So, Kuva Tonkor has a max ammo of 30. 1200 ammo being removed from the Ignis. Kuva Brahma ammo capacity is quite literally unusable. And you'll notice these are different platforms. These are PC, Xbox, PlayStation. I genuinely hate this update solely because of the ammo changes that were never tested to begin with. Ammo changes that were just awful and weren't tested properly. Why do people think ammo change is bad for non-explosive weapons? A correct way to fix Wukong. That was another thing a lot of people bitched about. Who used Wukong for AFK strats prior to these changes? Probably quite a few. Phantasma, unusable with ammo changes. I disagree with that one, actually. I have tested the Phantasma after the ammo change. It works just fine. Too much was done at once. Yep. Ammo nerfer's terrible. Assault rifle. That's probably going to be another negative. The issue isn't ammo for AoE, or for AoE launchers. The issue is the overall game design. Just my 2 cents. Since Warframe Ability Spectre uses ammo, or Ability Spectres use ammo, is there a chance to add an ammo UI to easier manage them? So this is one page, okay? There's 8 pages. And I can tell you, the majority of these 8 pages look very much like this. Couple happy people, most are pissed off. Here's the thing. The biggest complaint that so many people have made is the arcane nerf. The removal of ammunition arcane nerf. And truth be told, that's the thing. Like, if you're going to target ammo nerfs in a game, this is why you're going to hear a lot of frustration, a lot of salty posting, right? I posted a salty post about it as well. Like, I wish they'd stop fucking nerfing Steinx, for fuck's sake. He's not an amazing frame. He's fun, but he's not amazing. But they just keep nerfing the shit out of him. And some people wanted to argue the fact of, you know, my stance on Steinx. Well, you know what? If I have a really strong fucking build with Steinx, we'll just go to that and we'll go back to the ammo. If I have a really strong high-strength build with Steinx, yes, my cast will maintain as long as I'm outside of 10 seconds. So that means with the duration of my build, the duration time frame of my rally point, which is his third ability, is like 26 or 28 seconds. So as long as I'm outside of 10 seconds, my ability buff will maintain itself. The moment I get within 10 seconds, if I don't recast over somebody else, poof. I could get some shield gate build guy who literally just overwrites my fucking rally point cast, which means I'm not gaining as much energy per kill, which means I'm not aggroing people away from weaker frames and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's a big problem for me. You know, and I'm not gaining more shields. I'm actually losing the ability of gaining max over shields. At least I had to kill a metric fuck ton of people to do it. So I hate that. I hate the fact that, you know, they just keep nerfing the dumbest shit on Steinx. Steinx is really weak with his 4th ability, okay? He's fun, but he's weak. The reason being is because unless you build him for airborne damage reduction, you're fucked. Right? You're just absolutely fucked. Because you're basically a floating target. So if you fly over and aim at one group of enemies and there's a group of enemies behind you, you're going to get a bullet up your ass and there's nothing you can do about it because you're stuck in that animation. So now, they leave you stuck in that animation even longer, because now you have to touch the fucking ground. They say any surface, but you have to touch the ground in order to be able to recast the fucking ability instead of just spam casting it, which is crazy because spam casting it is terrible for energy economy. But then, but wait, there's more. Let's go ShamWow. They nerfed his ability to cast any other abilities while he's in his 4th. So you're stuck in the animation on a duration-based build with high strength. So now you're a floating target that can't do anything to help yourself. Like, they're nerfing the dumbest shit on Steinx. I think personally, the only thing that they should have changed with Steinx, this is just my personal opinion, they should have changed two things. Fixed the vortex, which they did, to actually do its fucking job like it was supposed to. And then give yourself the ability to cancel out of the fucking 4th ability, because if you just hit the 4th ability again, nothing happens. You don't need to take away his ability to cast while he's in that 4th ability, because I honestly thought that was a very cool fucking thing. But much like Geyer was great for like 30 hours. She was OP as fuck. And then all of a sudden they went, oh, no, y'all can't have this much fun. And they took it away. This is where the salty posts come from, because they do weird shit like this. Their idea of nerfing AoE weapons, which is area of effect weapons, so explosive style weapons, large areas that you can basically just consume, control, and destroy enemies. They said that they didn't want an automated playstyle, and as much as I want to agree with that, and I've seen people do it myself, folks, this is your game. This is your design. People are simply just utilizing the design of the game. Taking away ammunition will just make them do something else. And it's probably going to be something way worse than standing there in a hallway and just gaining ammo and blowing shit up. Like, Do I think, you know, making ammunition on Wukong's clone be a consumable for AoE weapons is a good thing? Oh, absolutely I do. Oh, I totally do. I think it's great. Because I was so sick and tired of seeing a Wukong running around with two Kuvazars. Because if you take all of his weapons off but his primary, both can use the same weapon. So you're basically got a clone and the primary player blowing up a map at every fucking corner. You could literally do nothing. All you saw was explosions. You know, and people were doing it with the Brahma too, but the clone wasn't using any ammo. So now that the clone is using ammo, now people have to rethink their tactics. I don't mind tactical changes to make us evolve and learn and grow, but some of the things that they do will break your fucking head and make you go, what the fuck are you folks thinking? But that's where you see the salty posts. And the only thing I'm going to say is, even when I do my own salty posts, take information from Mugamu, take information from Nightmare Frame, take information from the Kengineer, take information from Brozyme, take information from Pupsker, take information from anybody who's posting about Warframe, but take it with a grain of salt. Understand that the customization of this game is down to their playstyle, right? It's down to their comfort level. And test and learn and grow. Don't be afraid to, throw format Warframes. Even if you throw too many at it, throw format Warframes, throw format weapons. Weapons that aren't popular and that don't seem very good. Do crazy things in this game and have fun. And don't just try to speed run through this game. Actually enjoy every moment of the content of this game, because there is no end game. The running joke is Fashion Frame is end game. At this point in the game, there is no end game, and I'm fine with that. But you will run out of shit to do eventually. I still have stuff to do with my primary account, which is this one. I still have codex scans. I still have plenty of stuff to do, but eventually I'm going to run out of shit to do. So don't speed run yourself and don't sit there and, go crazy and buying fucking primes. Go farm them. Go farm the regular frames instead of plat buying them. It gives you something to do in the game. It teaches you more about the game the further you go in. So, again, though, take that with a grain of salt. You do you, man. I ain't gonna judge you. So, at the end of the day, take everything that you hear and that you see with a grain of salt and use it to whatever benefit that you can. Okay? Use it as a blueprint and build from there. If you find it doesn't work, try something else. A lot of people blueprint stuff with their posts, and that's really what will save your ass in this game, is at least having a blueprint of what the fuck you're supposed to be doing to find the best function of a frame, and then figure out if it fits your playstyle or not. So, is there good with Warframe? Absolutely. Is Warframe a great game? It is. Are the developers a little drunk? Probably 40% of the time. Yeah. Are some of the content creators very good at what they do? Yes, they are. Without question. Are some more salty than others? Yes, they are. But that's fine. That's them doing their thing, man. It's whatever. At the end of the day, you need to be the same, though. You do you. And just have fun with the game. Be frustrated at times. Understand that this game's going to piss you off at times, but at the end of the day, it's a really fun, mechanically smooth game to play, and goddamn is it worth it. So, adapt, evolve, and overcome. That is what Warframe community does. We get nerfed, we get weird bugs, we get buffs, we get weird shit that happens in this game, and we adapt, evolve, and overcome. That's just what we do. So after it's all said and done, folks, I want to thank you very much for watching this, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.